Comrades and friends, I want to speak on, first of all, the two aspects of the situation facing the youth right now. And first, I want us to back up, and I want us to think about how right now, at this very moment, there are millions of youth in this country who don't have the pleasure of being at a joyous meeting like this one, and instead, they're at home, or they're at the public library, or they're somewhere where they can get access to the internet, to a computer, to this modern piece of technology, and they're using it to search desperately for work. And they're getting on Craigslist, and they're getting on all these sites looking for a job. This device that was inconceivable at the time when they were born. And it's this new product, this great innovation that's been created. But it hasn't brought prosperity. That's what's going on at the moment. The capitalists of the world have driven so hard to raise the productivity and to increase the efficiency of production. But the results have not been prosperity for the people. The results have been unemployment, layoffs, and a huge economic crisis. And as a result, millions of youth are desperately worried about their future and where they'll be in the next 10 years, whether that's in prison, in the military, working a job at minimum wage, where they'll have to compete with all the workers who've been laid off, workers in their 50s and 60s who've been laid off from their job, and now they're competing with the youth, new on the job market. That's the situation the youth are facing. And that's the situation they're in because under capitalism, productivity and efficiency does not equal prosperity. When we have a system where the people at the top are able to, are in control, and the small elite reaps the profits from the labor everyone creates, or everyone does, the results are not prosperity for all, they're mass poverty and mass suffering. So that's one aspect, that's the less happy one. And then the other one is Egypt. And when I think about what happens in Egypt, and comrades will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't think of any other time in the history of the world where a revolution has been called in one day's notice and it's actually won. Is there another situation? Because I can't think of one. One of the major tools that was used for the Egyptian revolution was the internet. Now, who invented the internet? Now, we know it wasn't Al Gore, but the internet was actually invented by the Pentagon. It was invented by the U.S. military as a means of further coordinating and manipulating their efforts to drive down and attack the workers of the world. But now these youth in Egypt were able to use the internet and to propagate it and not use it as a place to desperately look for work and not use it as a place to isolate themselves and hide from the struggle, but use it as a tool to fight against the very system that's responsible for putting them in the situation they're in. And it shows the great contradiction. Egypt proved something. That's, I think, what we have to keep in mind. Egypt proved something. There's a poet, a famous poet, William Butler Yeats, and he wrote at the time of the 1916 revolution in Ireland that failed. He said, even though the revolution failed, the quote from the poem was, "A terrible beauty has been born." And it's ultimately true. Egypt showed, even if that revolution totally was wiped out tomorrow, it would still prove that you can go in the streets, you can fight the system, and you can win. And they'll never be able to take that away. That's the truth. It's just the basic truth of the situation. So it's just mind-boggling to think about it. The fact that productivity has increased to the point that the information is free and it's beyond the boss's control. They're not able to control it any longer, right? We're now using the tools they created to oppress us as tools to liberate ourselves. That's a very interesting aspect of the situation. And ultimately, there's going to be more Egypts, right? There's going to be more Egypts. There's going to be more Tunisias. There's going to be more Yemen. There's going to be more and more of what's going on. And that's why I am so excited about being a communist and being in a revolutionary party at this time. Because what we have to do now is we have to be pushing, at the same time we're involved, every time there's an uprising of the youth, and every time that we're standing up, we have to be pushing for it, and we have to be pushing to turn the Egypts and the Tunisias and all of this into Cubas and into Venezuelas, right? We have to push for a revolution. And it is such a leap. And you know, as was said at our conference numerous times, this system is in an impasse. And so, like I said, this situation is such a great time to be in. And it really shows that when Karl Marx talked about capitalism producing its own gravediggers, he wasn't just talking about the woodlawn workers. He was talking about... He was talking about the fact that the only way forward for millions of youth is to stand up and to organize against this system. So that's the inspiration that I take from Egypt, and it's now spreading to Madison, Wisconsin. It's spreading to Columbus, Ohio, and no matter what they do, it can't go away. That contribution has been given to us, and we all owe something great to the Egyptian workers, and we owe them something that we can never pay back to them. Thank you.